Hi everyone, and a warm welcome to the learning journey, hazard and risk assessment. I think of those who are participating, everybody knows everybody. So that gives me just the opportunity to again go to some etiquette remarks. And I've seen that we have started recording, and we record all the webinars, all the plenary sessions in the webinars, and we'll upload them on the platform website afterwards. And please keep your mic muted, but keep your camera on at all times if the bandwidth allows it. And if we are very few, it's perfectly fine to ask questions by raising your hand and using the mic. But you can also use the chat. I will follow the chat function. Today, the webinar today focuses on the quantitative risk assessment, and it is the last one on quantitative risk assessments and cost-benefit analysis, and today with a focus on the Mi Resiliencia tool. Webinars 4 and 5 will take place in May and will be with Andrea Blindenbacher on GIS. And that was already my screen, Georg, and all from my side. And please, let's start then, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Tony. As you mentioned, it's the last module regarding risk assessment and cost-benefit analysis. Sorry. And that would give us also some time for Q&A if there is time left. The idea is to practice a lot today. So to reach our goals, that you know the Excel tool, you had also a homework, maybe you had the time to use to practice the Excel tool, but also Mi Resiliencia that you have seen in the first module for a short moment, and that you can apply those two tools. And that you understand the indirect risks, because until today we just spoke about direct risks. We have also indirect risks that we would like to discuss today, and that you have time to put your questions regarding risk and cost benefit. And the goals gives us the content of the module today I mentioned before. So as we will practice today both tools, the Excel tool and the Mi Resiliencia, I'd like to go with short words to the application of the tool. I just will open the Excel sheet. So I just made some few modifications to make it more easy to use the Excel sheet. Maybe you remember you can choose your process type, dynamic floods, landslides, and debris flows. We have our return periods. I will make it a little bit bigger. We have our return periods that you can modify. All the yellow cells you can modify. We have our willingness to pay. So how much are the authorities how much would like them to are they disposed to invest to avoid a death? We have the cost of our mitigation measure. Can be a structural measure, can also be an organizational measure. The maintenance cost and the lifespan of the measure if it is a structural mitigation measure. And for each line, you have to define the object type, if it is a bicycle shop, a hospital, a health post, etc. And here you can introduce the hazard index based on your hazard map you have done before. And what we will discuss today also are the indirect risks, where we have to fill in daily production, in this case, the administration building, that we use for these indirect risks. And for the we have to make the modifications of the hazard level, considering the mitigation measure. And on the right side, we have the results shown in this graphic, the risk without the mitigation measure, in dollar or your own currency per year. And we are distinguishing direct risk and indirect risk in this gray color, the indirect risks, and in dark gray, the direct risks. And the same risk information, but considering the mitigation measures, the difference, which is our benefit from the mitigation measure and related to the costs. In our case, we have 5.6 times more benefit than costs. So that was very fast, the repetition of we have done in the last modules, and where I would like to ask you to practice it. I will go back to the presentation. You can find the Excel sheet in this link, hazard-risk.com/risk, where you will find this button here to download the Excel sheet. I think you have already downloaded it. If not, you can do it now. For the first exercise, it's quite similar of the exercise we have that you had for homeworks. I modified slightly by numeration of the buildings. I started from up to down, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's easier to fill out the Excel sheet. And you see the object number 1, which is administration building, is for the actual situation, the hazard map without mitigation measure, it's a hazard level 1, EN, for inundation or flood. 1, that means only during very extreme events, and this area can be affected by a low intensity. So nobody will die with low intensities. So this information you can fill up in the Excel tool. The same for the administration building number 2. Number 4 is a church, and so on. And with the hazard map with the planet mitigation measure, I ask you to fill out also the Excel sheet where we have the same objects, but different hazard level per object. You get also the information about the costs of the protection measure, which is a protection dam, $300,000 with annual maintenance costs of 1%, and a lifespan of 35 years. We have return periods from 10, 30, and 100 years. So with this information, yes, I think you are able to help each other in groups. As I mentioned, it's quite similar as the homework I gave you last time, but probably not everybody could fill it out. So I ask Nora to build groups and then to fill out the Excel sheet that you have downloaded or you will download. And we have time for 20 minutes. Nora, I think we talked about 20 minutes for the first exercise.
Before
Yes.
Before we go into the group, you have seen that I have put the exercises. It's not just for the first one, but for all. I put the link in the chat and also the link of the website where you can download the Excel sheet. So please do that before Nora puts us into the different groups, and I think we are 11. Shall we make 2 groups, Georg? Is that okay? Or do you prefer 3 groups?
I will work in 3 groups.
3 groups, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And please make sure that you have downloaded or clicked on the links, because otherwise of the exercises, otherwise you will not be able to have that later.
So
just one question to the understanding of the exercise. We do the calculation for all the buildings shown in the map.
Yes, for all the 23 buildings.
23. Okay. Thanks.
okay,
Nora, can
I
we switch from?
hope.
Yeah.
Yes, you and Tony, you can switch to the groups, but there's just one person joined us, and then I will open the rooms.
But people will be lost if they have to fill out all those values. That's the reason why that's the reason why we work with hidden values. Are we still in group?
No.
Yeah,
Leonard.
Okay, we're back.
We came back now.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So part of our group missed the earlier module, so we tried to explain the concept of the risk assessment. Maybe the group who is very fast in the exercise is Thomas. Maybe could you explain us how you filled out the Excel, how you worked in your exercise?
Yeah, sure. I can do that. Shall I share my screen? I'm not so sure whether we have done everything correctly because we were so fast. I don't know. I
Just go ahead, sharing screen.
So, can you see our screen or my screen?
Yeah.
This was, I think, the first exercise. So we just filled in all the values for the buildings. Sometimes this was not so clear because the map was very small. And then here also the other attributes. Willingness to pay, construction costs, maintenance cost, lifespan. And then we compared it with the second slide, with the second scenario. After all the measures have been implemented, I mean, mainly this dam. And there was a nice result. Impressive benefit cost ratio. So the reduction would be, can we see here in this graph then? So this measure we have less cost, much less cost, 7.8 times less cost than before. I don't know whether this is correct. Regarding social capital, I don't find any information.
Yeah, that will be the next working step, Thomas.
Okay. Yeah,
we haven't discussed it before. I just a little great. I'm a little bit wondering about the object number 1, 2, and 3, where you put as a hazard index 0, considering the mitigation measures. Could you show us your map?
Yeah, I have to go back. Yeah, here, this is the map.
Yes, we have.
Is this, yeah, and this is the first actual situation, and this is with planned mitigation measures, and these buildings, 1, 2, 3, are outside.
Yes, we have the same.
Yeah.
Great.
Is that correct? I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's why we have 0 here. Huh?
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Maybe one additional question, Thomas. We have a worse situation for building number 21, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Because before they were in hazard level 1 and 4, that means yellow,
This is
low
here.
level.
You see them here.
Exactly. Is that ethically correct?
I hope so. There's my here. They are all in index 7, huh? These 3 buildings. 21, 22, 23.
So the risk situation for those 3 buildings will be worse with
Yes.
our mitigation measure. Is that ethically correct?
Good question. And we see there are activities. If you look at the map, there are activities going on here. So they might be even more affected. But this is not included. We are only focusing on buildings. And these are brick buildings. So I don't know. I mean, ethically, yeah. They should
maybe
relocate. They should go on something else, different. They should rebuild their houses, maybe.
I
That
would
could be an
say
offer, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe, would you say?
yes. I would say, well, it's ethically, I would say yes, it's correct, because for all the community, the situation is much better than before. But as we know, the situation for these 3 families living there will be worse, so they should whether be relocated or get some recompensation or whatever. Because if not, if it's not beneficiary for all the community, only the communities as a whole, then these 3 families will not be very happy. So the community should look for some measures to recompensate these families for the high risk.
And even here they are affected. So it's not that they were not affected before.
That would be an option, huh? To offer them recompensation, or maybe also discuss for other mitigation measures. Normally there are always different options for mitigation measures. Each one has different value, so you could play around with an alternative and to calculate cost benefit for the alternative, and at the end you look for the best option. And then if you see the best option is what we see on the right side of the picture, so just stay in contact with them and bring them some offers for the compensation.
But Georg, one question. There are some activities going on here. Is it quarrel or whatever? They're gaining some sand, stones. This is not included, huh? You're only focusing on the houses.
Yeah. In reality, this is a copper mine.
Copper mine. Oh, you see this.
These are not realistic object types. There's no church there. But as an exercise, I thought it's a good area to play around.
Just a question, you because you put up this ethical question. I don't assume that this is something realistic. Or did it happen? Did you came across such results? Where then very few would, and it's not just from 1 to 2 or 3 or from 1 to 4, but from 1 into a 7 into a hazard level 7, which is not really nice actually. I cannot imagine that this ever happened in the Swiss context or in the European context. I can imagine that it can happen maybe in this Chilean context, where you put it, with where you have a powerful mine company who says we don't really care about the others. But do you know of any such examples? I think it's dreadful.
It's such an extreme example, no, but also in Switzerland we have situations where we have areas where the situation will be worse, and we work with compensation with money to get the agreement of the people living there, but not in such a huge difference as we see here.
Because I can imagine that you would put, other, if you do a measure, then you would have a worsening of in some contexts, but this you could address with protection measures probably. and then it would be paid for by the community or by whoever, then it's probably fine again, and the value of the property would be similar to before. Or if you still have a decrease in the value, you would be compensated as well. Then it's fine. But this is putting the life in danger like that, right?
You could also build object protection. That means, especially for these 3 houses, build them much more stronger, or to build a small protection dam around these 3 buildings. We have in quite every situation, you have always different options to handle with the risks. If you agree, we will go on with the next working step. That means I will share my screen. Yeah, maybe to remember, for those who are not don't feel comfortable with these object types, we worked in this Excel sheet. You can modify the object types. If you don't have any wooden or adobe houses, you can put here another object type. And you can also modify the value of the object type, and in the number of persons per floor, or the time spending, the hours spending per day in this building type. So you can modify those values, and with that, the Excel sheet, the first one, will be adjusted automatically. In our group, somebody asked, what about the vulnerability, the physical vulnerability values of those objects? You could modify them, but that needs a deep knowledge about risk assessment. In an earlier model, I showed you that here you have hidden columns. Those values are hidden in this area here, and you can also access. I show it because it's part of the tool. You can open the Excel, and he will find 4 flooding. Here it's written in Spanish. All these vulnerability values are given here, but I don't go to detail in our module because it goes too deeply. Just to inform you that you have possibilities to adjust the Excel sheet 100%.
That needs the
let us know
password.
if you are interested in that, and we can help you defining those values. For 90% of the people, we recommend to work with the standard values. Is there a question?
No, it was just a bit about the same. When we calculated last time manually the mortality and physical vulnerability, so this is already included. And as you explained, this needs just a password to open it.
It is correct. I write you the password in the chat.
Thank you.
So this is the password, but be very careful to use it, please. If not, you will be a result which is probably totally different from reality. But with this password, you can access all the hidden columns. Okay. So I will go a working step further on. I mentioned before that people have also capacities, not just vulnerabilities. They have social capacities. And depending on their capacity, risk will be less. And normally in our projects where we work mostly on those values to strengthen knowledge of vulnerable people, to work for more functionality of emergency committees, to increase the functionality of an early warning system. All those aspects enters in the calculation, the risk calculation, by the improvement of the capacities. And we haven't talked about until today about this. So in the concept is that the indirect risks, the direct risks are an avalanche occurs and it destroyed immediately the buildings. But the indirect risk means all the income lost during all those days to recover the initial situation are indirect risks. And as a simple equation, that means the indirect risks are the loss of daily production in dollars multiplied by the days lost divided by the social capacity. The higher the capacity, the lower the indirect risks. So this effect of strengthening capacity, we have to monetize them to be able to include it in our risk calculation. Not in each object type income will be produced. For example, in private houses, normally there won't be any income generation, but in agricultural land, yes, there's a daily production, daily income values. Also in an industry, in a market, in an office, there are daily productions where we can quantify with a dollar value. And this is the concept, and we try to apply the capacity criteria as we use it in the Red Cross. It can be changed as well. In this case, we use the criteria like the functional emergency committee, among a functional early warning system in place, institutions providing emergency care, electricity supply in emergencies, availability of alternative agricultural areas, if in the affected area, the agricultural area will be destroyed, labor flexibility, insurance coverage, which is quite difficult, but in some case maybe you have it, and the existence of a contingency plan. Not each of these criteria is useful in a specific case. For example, in area which will be affected by debris flows, normally debris flows doesn't have a direct link to precipitation, because you can also have debris flows without any precipitation. It's also possible in high mountain areas. So a contingency plan for debris flows is quite, in normal case, not possible. So in that case, contingency plan, maybe in your area, the capacity level is defined, but the relevance factor of this criteria is maybe 0, or maybe just 50%, 0.5, or it is very important. So that means the relevance of the criteria is 1. So you can define the relevance factor by 3 values, 0, 0.5, or even 1. And the capacity level, you can define it in the first column. also between 0, inexistent, 50%, or 1. And the calculation made in this Excel sheet is it takes an average value, the combination of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 criteria, and it gives you the capacity factor in general, considering all these criteria. And now it is the same concept. You measure, or you are defining the capacity level for the situation before measures, and with your planned or maybe already realized mitigation measures or strengthening of capacities. In the best case, all the criteria are in level 1, and so your capacity factor is 1. That's the perfect situation. For example, in an earlier version of the Excel, we applied much more capacity criteria, but it was too complex. So we reduced it to those 8 criteria. But you have the possibility to work with more criteria if you want. As you know, you have now the password for the Excel. You can modify it completely. But the concept should not be different. So if I go to our Excel sheet, I have the tab Social Capacity, and here I can find this the table I showed you before. For example, for Functional Emergency Committee, a second to apply it a little bit more. So Functional Emergency Committee, maybe you say this is a very relevant aspect. It's not 0, it is 1. And for the situation before the beginning of the project, maybe it is inexistent. But after the project has finished, yeah, the capacity, we have a high capacity index, and it's still relevant. So we will not make any difference regarding the relevance factor. The Excel sheet, sorry for that, I have to hide those values we don't need to show. Give me 1 second. I'll make it like that. Okay. Sorry for that. I still have here the old version. Yeah. What I wanted to show you, for the indirect costs, you have to fill out the capacity factor. In the version that I created during the weekend, I hidden this capacity factor and I related it to this Excel tab, that it copies automatically to the main Excel sheet. What you have to fill out is the daily production per object. If you have for example, a bicycle shop, the daily production is about $50. The capacity factor, if you work with the newest version of the Excel sheet, you don't have to put it here. It takes automatically from here, but in my version, I have to write it down, 0.5. And it modifies the risk value here. You see, if I put here daily production 0, I get a different value. It is not a huge difference, but if I take Where is my administration building? Maybe a big one where I have $5,000 production per day. The risk is quite different. So you can define per object the expected daily production and to consider it as well in your risk calculation. Once you have indirect risks in the graphic here, it is shown as with a gray color. The part which is indirect risk, the main part here are direct risks. For the situation considering the mitigation measure, I have also to define the daily production, which will be the same. It is copied, and the capacity factor here will be hopefully different with the effort of your project. It is probably higher. Have the hazard index, which is also lower because we had additionally built a structural mitigation measure. I don't know if that was understandable what I intended to explain you. Or I would like to ask you if there are questions regarding these indirect risks.
Georg, I would have one technical question. As on the tab social capacity, which you showed, you can show it again. There were like two columns. Now before there were like two before the measure and after the measure. That's in case if there are also measures to enhance the capacity. The one you showed on the slides, there were.
Yeah, this is a planification error from my part. I'm mixing an old version with a new one.
Okay.
So in the new one, you have these two fields, before measures and with planned measures.
Because at the Excel, when I download the Excel, I have only the one indication for all hazard types.
Look, I will download. I think it's easier to download it. Okay, this is the actual version. You have before measure, you have to define the relevance factor and the capacity index, and with the planned measure as well. Here in this tab. And then you go to the main tab where you don't have to define again the capacity level because it is automatically included from the social capacity tab.
Well, that's a bit strange. When I download it, I do not have the two columns. I don't know how.
Because you downloaded it not before this weekend.
Maybe
I think.
I thought I just downloaded once again, but okay, I will maybe close and start again.
Maybe you have to close it and to both versions from the Excel works, but I thought I will modify it to make it easier for the handling.
Okay.
But both works.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we can just make a short break, Tony, before we're starting with Resiliencia.
Probably a very short break, or we will overgo the time again, huh?
Yeah, but
5
maybe
minutes.
a 5-minute break
okay?
would be great.
Okay. Back in
Okay,
25.
see us 25, yeah.
Yes, Georg, you're right. I just downloaded it once again.
Hast du es noch einmal runtergeladen?
Ja, ich habe es jetzt nochmal, ich habe vorhin, aber vielleicht war das irgendwie falsch. Ich dachte, ich hätte vorhin auch nochmal runtergeladen, aber da war es die offensichtlich noch die alte irgendwie.
Ja.
Ja, Gerd, dann ist klar.
Aber das ist
Ja.
recht geschätzt, gell, Georg? Jetzt
Hm?
die Social Capacity. Das sind dann so ziemlich rough Estimates, die man hier macht.
Ja,
Hat doch
you
nicht so einen
have
grossen
in
Einfluss, gell?
I show you that. I can explain it afterwards as well. You have in Mi Resiliencia recommendations how to define those values. But probably organizations have better methods to define the capacity levels. Here in Mi Resiliencia, well, based on what we have done in the Red Cross, we gave an explication.
Und die andere Frage, weißt du, bei der Daily Production, das ist auch ein bisschen zielschätziger, hä?
Ja, klar.
Ziemlich schätziger. Das macht bei einem Wassertank, Daily Production. Das musst du
kann ich
irgendwie,
nicht-
wenn du sagst, okay, der hat 10.000 Liter pro Tag oder 100.000 Liter, und wir das verkaufen, ein 10 pro Liter, dann sind das 10.000 Stutz pro Tag. Das wäre ja wahnsinnig. Aber so, in dem Sinn, oder?
Ja,
Wenn wir es verkaufen, wenn wir es nicht verkaufen, dann hat es keinen Wert.
ja. Ja. Das ist einfach die Frage, also das Prinzip ist einfach über dem, wo Geld generiert wird. Es ist auch, also wenn du, es geht vor allem um einen relativen Vergleich zwischen der Situation vorher und nachher. Das ist vor allem das Relevante. Der Absolutwert hat schon eine gewisse Relevanz, aber wenn der nicht ganz genau ist, ist das nicht matchentscheidend.
Aber wenn ich dort Daily Production, wenn ich dort überhaupt nichts rein tue, dann habe ich der Social Capacity, das kommt nur dort, kommt das zum Tragen.
Kommt nur dort.
Ja,
Kommt
ja,
nur
eben.
dort.
Ja. Wenn ich überall 0 habe, dann muss ich das gar nicht ausfüllen.
Das ist so.
Und ich habe 0, ich habe beim Power Transformer kann ich also bei der elektrischen kann ich etwas machen. Ich habe bei der Mill habe ich etwas, oder? Beim Spital frage ich mich schon, ob man dort etwas rein tun kann, wo man generiert.
Dort hast du Arbeitskräfte, die arbeiten.
Ja, bist du in dem Fall auch.
Bei Schuhe auch. Und dann hast du natürlich auf dem Markt, auf dem Merit hast du viel Office Building, also Administration Building und natürlich in der Landwirtschaft.
Mhm. Ja. Aber das macht nie mehr als 10% aus von den direkten Kosten.
Ja, es kann schon, aber es macht in der Regel einen relativ geringen Anteil aus.
Mhm. Okay.
Weil das, was einschenkt, sind vor allem Personenschäden.
Mhm. Und die sind eben hier schon integriert, oder? Wie das vorhin ist gesagt.
Die sind integriert, ja.
Gut.
Jetzt haben wir da bei der Help, das haben wir halt einfach aus Ressourcengründen nicht können übersetzen. Das haben wir halt alles noch auf Spanisch. Hast du bei der
Ich tue jetzt das Ding noch rein, gell? Zip-File. Link drauf. He?
Ja. Da geht's da hier. Hast du da Capacity. Und da hast für jedes System der Letter Temprana hast Kriterien, um die festzulegen.
Mhm.
Also da findest du so eine Anleitung. Aber viele Organisationen haben da selber Formen, wie sie das können beziffern, oder? Jetzt haben wir 25. Okay, let's come back. Yeah, everyone is here, is back. So we change from the Excel sheet to Mi Resiliencia. The basic concept is the same. So Mi Resiliencia is based on the Excel sheet. The difference is that in Mi Resiliencia, as it is a web GIS tool, you can localize your objects. which is not the case in the Excel sheet. If I go to the Excel sheet, I have no idea where is number 1 administration building, where is this object? So as a project manager, it's quite difficult, the orientation, if it is well done or not, if it's realistic or not. But if I have a geolocalized tool, it is more understandable, transparent, easier to understand those the values and the risk analysis. Once you download the Mi Resiliencia file, which is found also in the hazard-risk.com webpage, you go to the bottom risk, the tab risk, and then you have this download button here. You have to confirm that it's from a secure source. It will show you that, are you sure you want to download it? Because we are not sure if it's safe or not. Yes, you have to click that it comes from a secure source. Once you have downloaded, the interface opens. As we can see here, I explained that you in another module, but I will repeat it fastly. You have in the middle of the screen your orthophoto, your satellite image. You can search your point of interest by name. Bern, for example. Not all the cities are found, but many of them. But you can also look for the coordinates, longitude, latitude, to zoom directly to your area of interest. If not, you have to search it manually. It works for the whole world. The whole world is covered by these satellite images. You can use different images types. You can, instead of Google Satellite, you can work with Bing Map, for example. Bing Satellite, in this case, not very helpful. Bing Hybrid, there are different possibilities. You can, or OpenStreetMap. And normally I use Google Satellite, or I use my own drone photo to add the raster file. It was a question in an earlier module. Maybe after this module, I can show how to import satellite images to lose too much time now. Then we have the layer menu here, where all the elaborated layers will be displayed. On the upper side of the screen, we have a menu like creating project, open existing project, export, import project, zoom in, zoom out, and a help file. The help is at the moment only available in Spanish. The first step is to define your working area. You activate it, put new, and then you can click it, double click to finish. You can also modify your geometry of your area of interest. You don't need to have any GIS knowledge to work with Mi Resiliencia. And the next working step is to digitalize your hazard map you have done outside of Mi Resiliencia. You have to digitalize your areas. You know them already, 7, 4, and 1, situation before mitigation measures, and it appears in the layer menu here on the right side, on and off. I can also, with new, depending on your process type, debris flows, flooding, landslide, or rockfall, you can define the hazard index or the hazard level, and then digitalize new areas. Or if you don't agree with your digitalization, you can also select it, edit geometry, and then delete it. It is still here. Why? Because I deleted the I deleted, yeah. So you can digitalize and delete and create new one, modify it as it is in a normal GIS application. As the third button is to define your damage potential, all your objects you would like to digitalize. For example, here I have an object which is not digitalized already. I have to know which kind of object it is. It is a building, yes. It is not an agriculture area. It is maybe an administration building, new, and I click on the building and end edit, it is defined. If I select the object, it appears predefined values. This administration building is a very big building. Apparently, has a construction value of $1 million. Maybe that's absolutely incorrect. Maybe it is considering also with a construction value of $5,000. I can modify it. If I have maybe more than just one floor, I switch the number of floors. The person working per floor are maybe 10, and the presence of the people per day in hours are maybe 12. And here for the indirect losses, the daily operation loss, the daily production. I can use the predefined value, or I can write it by my own. Save to apply the changes. If I don't use the predefined values, if I use personalized values, the color of the object changes from blue to red. I can apply values for the other buildings, but as they are not affected by natural hazards, the tool won't calculate anything, will not calculate anything. But nevertheless, I can digitalize them. The perimeter was lost, so I have to reactivate it here. And the next button is to define the indirect risks, what we have seen before in the Excel sheet. Mi Resiliencia automatically activates all those objects where income will be built. Instead of all these objects, just some of them where income will be created are marked or highlighted. You can select them. And as you saw before in the Excel sheet, for those criteria, define the capacity index and the relevance factor for all of these criteria. If you agree with your definition of the capacities, just put apply or save. And then the tool asks you if the capacity level is for all the buildings the same. To avoid spending too much time, you can activate the button transfer resilience to all damage potential, and it applies it for all the marked objects. In the next working step, once the capacity are defined, I have to digitalize my mitigation measure. I will deactivate the hazardous area and just digitalize my protection dam. Remember that the flow, the process, the flooding will flow from right to left. I try to avoid flooding this area here where big part of the buildings are. So I built here a dam. I can modify the dam as we saw before with all kind of areas or points. I can modify them with end editing. It will be stored. And then for the object, you can also construct two of them if you want. You can also construct a dam here. In this case, for both together, we have to define the construction costs, maybe $450,000. A lifespan of the protection dam is maybe 40 years, and the maintenance cost per year is normally it's 5%. But it depends. And you can write down, give a description what kind of mitigation measure it is, a protection dam. That's it, apply safe. And for sure, afterwards, you have to define the hazard situation considering our mitigation measure, which is here, and here are our damage potential. So I already made that in this example here. And then what is missing? The capacity situation considering the mitigation measure. Maybe in our excellent conducted project, the capacity level is always on the top. I can transfer them to all the other objects. That's it. We are ready to calculate the risks for actual situation and with mitigation measure and to calculate cost-benefit ratio. It opens a new window and shows you the same concept as we saw in the Excel, just on with other colors. The risk situation before measures, with measure, the difference of the two risk situations, and the cost of the mitigation measure. In our case, we have 4 times more benefit than costs. So it's recommended to realize this mitigation measure. In Resilientia, we defined all mitigation measures with a benefit cost ratio less than 5, realization to be discussed. But mathematically, all those mitigation measures with a benefit cost ratio higher than 1 are justified to realize. We have some additional information where I don't go in detail now. The differentiation of personal risk, property risk, indirect risk. I can activate and deactivate them. In my case, I have now some warnings, not errors, but warnings, because in the water tank, I don't put any occupancy and any persons within the water tank. The meaning is there aren't any person working there, so I just accept these warnings without make any changes. It shows me also additionally in a qualitative manner the risks in 3 classes: white, and these 2 different red colors for low, medium, and high risks, for the actual situation and for the situation with the mitigation measure. That could help you for discussions with affected people to define where are the highest risks. In this case, are these buildings here within the red area here. We have also low risk values for water tanks where there aren't any people with in the buildings. This is, in short word, the application of the tool. I prepared I prepared an exercise, but we still have time to do it. Not to follow each step of the Mi Resiliencia tool. You can practice by yourself and write us an email if you have any questions. But maybe 2 aspects you could work on. The first is to assign the damage potential for the buildings with green roofs. These are about 10, and specify their values. This is the first part of the exercise, and the second part is to digitalize the hazardous areas for the situation with the planned mitigation measure. In the lower part, I have already done it, but what's missing is the part behind the protective wall. About this area here, you maybe remember it was a hazard level 1. These 2 aspects are part of the exercise. To make it more clear, I show that again before sending you into groups. You have to, in this button, in this tab here, define what kind of objects I have, maybe a infrastructure object, maybe an electric station. I click new. I'm looking for my electric station. Here I have one, but it is outside of the perimeter, but to give you an example, it doesn't matter. I click it, and editing, and it is stored. But I can, with select, modify the values if I want. Actual value to rebuild this power line station, this electric station costs about 30,000. Motivation to change value, you can let in transparent, apply save, and it is done. And the second part of the exercise is here. Define the hazardous areas behind the protection wall. In my case, I go to debris flow. This is a debris flow area, hazard level or index 1, new, and then you can digitalize. With double click, you finish digitalization. Now, I would like to know from your part, who could download the installation file from Mi Resiliencia? Who could install the Mi Resiliencia file? Could you maybe write your name in the chat? If you could, if you didn't, maybe just don't write anything, so we can count how many participants could download it. Great, Kiran. No, it didn't change. No, it didn't change. Only 3 persons could install it. Yeah, try to do that afterwards if you can. For those who couldn't download it, you can work on exercise number 3, which is in the document you have already found in the chat. 2 maps, a situation in Honduras, the hazard map before mitigation measure, and with mitigation measure with a protective dam shown in black. Flow direction is from left to right. In the red area is the riverbed, and on both sides outflow are expected. You have also the 9-field diagram from 1 to 9, and you have the objects, the exposed objects. Willingness to pay is $175,000, and here are the costs of the dam: construction cost, maintenance cost, and lifespan. I think with these values you can use your Excel sheet for those who couldn't download the Mi Resiliencia file. Nora, that's correct. Everybody has this exercise number 3.
It is the exercise who was linked in the chat.
I think this is, yeah.
Yes. So it is this exercise, and I hope that everyone has access.
Okay. And for the others, maybe we can build group. Nora, with Tony, Kiran, and Thomas in one group, if this is possible for you.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 groups for the exercise number 3. Okay, we are all back, or almost all back. We hadn't had the time for Q&A. For the other 2 aspects, Mi Resiliencia and Excel, if you need to make modifications, you just let us know, Tony or my self, and we are happy to help you. And for sure, we'll practice it in our field day. We'll realize in June. Tony, I would like to handle to you as time is already gone.
Can we, can we offer some extra services, Georg, for those who want to practice? Because it was a bit, not everybody was on Mi Resiliencia, and when we were on Mi Resiliencia, it just needs some time. It takes time to get acquainted. But those who really want to dig deeper into Mi Resiliencia, that you can, and if you stumble over problems, etc., that you can ask Georg for support. Would that be okay, Georg?
Yeah, sure. Just write an email to Tony or to me or to Nora, and we'll try to help if for those who would like to have more insights.
And depending on how it works, we would share it with all who have participated in the 3 modules. So everybody can benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Georg, thanks again for this guided and interactive deep dive into the calculations of quantitative risk assessment. Not so easy. We just noted the 3 of us with the Mi Resiliencia. It takes practice, of course. But my last question to you all, are there any questions left from your side? This is the last chance. We are a bit over time. I see there, Ishvara, please.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead with your question.
How can we make resilience community?
Ishvara, I have to cut you short here. This is a bit outside. If you want to know how to strengthen community resilience, etc., that's outside of this webinar. I don't think that we can provide you with a good answer right away. This is all a learning journey by itself. Sorry to say.
Okay.
Mi Resiliencia, you can show the changes on strengthening the resilience of the people before project, after project. So Mi Resiliencia, you can show to make evidence of your results for your for the strengthening of the Mi Resiliencia, but it doesn't show you how to do it.
And every organization, or many of our organizations, we would have our own approaches and tools, how to support communities in becoming more resilient. And that's beyond what we are doing today. Kamalendu, you have a question.
Hi, thank you, Tony. I think the tool is very interesting to me. So my question is, I saw that we put the data on each and every infrastructure. Like, is there any way, like, if we consider like in an area like there is 100 house, almost more or less similar infrastructure, like putting an assessment and putting an average values or for all this infrastructure. Am I clear with my questions? Like, if I consider a similar situation in Bangladesh, like we are doing a risk assessment in Bangladesh. Let's say like there is 500 households, the infrastructure is more or less similar. So can I put a single data like the average risk assessment or single value for all these 500 infrastructure?
Did you get the question, Georg?
I'm not sure, Tony. Can you?
Yeah. We have now seen with Mi Resiliencia, Kamalendu, right? We have seen there, if you want to change the parameters that are provided by Mi Resiliencia, by the tool itself, we have to go house by house, infrastructure by infrastructure, and change it. That's in a rural setting with 20, 30 different elements. That's okay, but in an urban setting, and I know where Kamalendu is working. This is a suburb of Dhaka, with maybe 1,000, 2,000 or so infrastructure buildings, etc. How can we go there in a more efficient way and not have to click on each and every house and change the data?
Okay. Yeah, we practiced Mi Resiliencia in an urban area in Bolivia with 4,300 objects. We have done it the way that we digitalized those objects in GIS, and then we imported the layer in Miresilientia. That was faster. And in this case, we didn't change object by object the values. We worked with predefined values. So if it was a private house, we assigned to the private house standardized average value, construction value, average value of quantity of persons living there, average value for hours per day in the house. We didn't make it object by object the definition of the calculation criteria. We worked with predefined values. But in GIS, as I mentioned before, we just click those 4,300 objects. You have to know which kind of object it is. If it is a mill or a school or a private house, this is the job you have to do. Maybe you can work with open government data, where all the specification of the housing types are already done. You can use those data and afterwards import them to Miresilientia. So you have these two possibilities: work within Miresilientia or to import it in Resilientia.
Is that okay for the time being, Kamalendu?
Yeah, thank you. I think for the time being, it's okay. Of course,
when you apply it, you will have much more questions when you apply it, and then probably we come back to Georg and ask for some support. Most likely.
Kamalendu, maybe the import of data, the import of layer in Miresilientia could maybe be something of interest for you to show you that in another moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I agree with Kiran. It would be nice to have artificial intelligence to help us on that. Yeah, great. In a not so distant future, probably that will be the case. Okay, we are 15 past. That's our usual time where we end. Thanks a lot for your patience and for your participation. That's it for today, and I hope that you leave today's webinar with a better understanding of the risk assessment concept and what it takes to conduct a robust risk and cost-benefit analysis. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again in 4 weeks. Again, same day, same time, and in 4 weeks' time, that will be the first of 2 webinar modules on GIS. So please, bye for now and have a nice day. Bye-bye.